Hey, Mahila. So let's talk about Micah 1 and 2. Okay. Micah 1 it's a poem. Okay. These are poems. Micah 1 talks about God will come down from heaven and tread upon the high places of the earth. So this is like one of those superhero movies where the superheroes get owned by the villain. Okay, God is coming down and he's in human form. He's not a giant, okay? And he's not like Zeus, like he's got thunderbolts. He's coming down as like Ozymandias. And it's like he's able to do all of these things like Jason Bourne. He's able to fight and make war, and he's like a wizard like Gandalf. Like he can do all those things, but he looks as a human. Okay, he's not a giant or a spirit or a ghost. Okay, so God is very, very like crafty and tricky and maneuverable and agile. Okay. And he's on the mountains and he's like running up the mountains and running down the mountains. He's able to do all this like at high speed. And that's the picture that it creates. So God is like a wild animal that is like it would be like a cheetah or a jaguar. Like you'd be kind of afraid to face it. Okay. And so then it talks about, okay, it gets into the poem of Saphir and all of these, it lists all these locations that are the rare locations of the earth. And it says, we're going to visit these places of the dimensions because it's like you have the dragon and it says make thee bald as the dragon. It's talking about fourth grade, like Matthew McConaughey, and you have, 9/11 happened then when I was in fourth grade, and they had this movie with Matthew McConaughey where he's facing the dragon and he's bald and has a beard. Okay. So it's creating that type of picture where you have a type of dimension where you have something happening in reality and something happening in the spirit realm. And it creates this picture of, okay, there's the golden age of the fifth age, which is what Grox just briefly talked about, which is like Colorado, Kansas, and Utah, where it's like they set up a new America with the archives at Colorado, and the rapture's already happened. And then what does America do to respond to Russian Orthodox Church and Islam and all of this, fifth age, the dog days are over thing, where you have this aftermath of the nukes. And America is not just on the run, like chasing, keep running Bear Grylls. It's more like they're responding in strength. Okay. So you have that where it creates its own story of that, where you have these dimensions that the sixth age is happening, where you have Cloud Atlas, the bonfire, okay, and the tattoos. And you have the remnants of the fourth age, where everything was like Scooby-Doo Geller, right? You have these throne positions and dominions and Sephirim and cherubim and powers, virtues, principalities. You have all of these thrones of archangels and angels, the 9 angel positions, and And at the same time, you would have the guillotined French and the Holocaust Jews. And these are shown by what you do your first fruits of whenever you have that Han, and it's the doomed flock of Zechariah. And you would usually go to McDonald's for that quickly, is how that is. Where it says, flee to Judea, do not leave anything upon the housetop. Like if you're on the housetop, don't go back inside to get something, just leave immediately. That's how it is with the doomed flock of Zechariah. So Micah sets up these war tribes that are fighting dragons and make thee bald for, to fight dragons that are on earth after the desolation. But it also picks up the pieces and says, we have these palaces and these oases, right? And we have these places of as Moscow, as, colorful palaces. And so Micah sets all that up in Micah 1. Then Micah 2 says, Micah 2 talks about the response to that, which is, okay, bring it back to reality. It's Micah 2 is more like, we have everything that happened in Micah 1 where we had the dimensions, and then Micah 2 brings it back to the ACTS matrix reality, where you have, okay, but I'm getting through every day. I'm in survival mode. It's the tribulation. The tribulation starts when you want it to in your life. Or something happens to you, you're injured, or you're in trouble. A family member has died. You lost your job, something. And Micah 2 brings it back to reality and says, okay, God is gonna discuss with you. He's gonna have a conversation with you about the reality of everything that happened in Micah 1, because when it lists the rare places in Micah 1, you've never heard of those before. And so Micah 2 is the response to say, hey, listen, it's okay if you don't understand, because this is intense reality of, okay, Micah 1 we accept as truth, okay? So Micah 2 is saying, this is truth, and you're in the tribulation, all of us are, and you have these sea beasts and earth beasts that have risen up, and, you have Trump and Obama, all of this is going on. You have Prince William, the, guaranteed human, like Prince William, that the Las Vegas is depending upon that, right? I mean, you have all of this reality that you're dealing with, and it's a love poem of God. Micah 2 is the love poem of God, where he says, we're going to get through this. And he says, he says that they gathered it of the hire of a harlot. And Micah 2 says, because of that hiring, he says, I will gather it in the multitude. So then it talks about at the gates, and it makes, it's a sure reference to the furlongs in Revelation. The furlongs where it, the winepress was trodden without the city. So Micah 2 goes in depth of those furlongs and says this is a multitude, and it is all gathered, and it uses and breaks down the term gather as a type of Geller system that was going on with the dimensions, and it makes it all make sense. And It's not that you are not whole. That's not what it is, because it even talks about that the kings, and it says the ones basically who have cut off. And so it makes mention of Area 51 and and Hollywood and the politics, the kings. And it says these are all made whole when we have things like this multitude. And the multitude it describes as a setting. It is a setting of an event has taken place. And it's funny because Micah 1 is all about these events, right? So Micah 2 says we have a multitude of these awarenesses of these types of raptures that people have made manifest from their mind. And this is all counted as canon from Micah 1. Okay?